started, so that this is a backup, but that is where it
Okay.
goes. But little bit of the scripted thing, I've said hi to you, but Gidey, hi again. Thank you for doing
Hello.
this. It's nice of
Yeah.
you to do that. I really, appreciate that. So it's been what I just send you that message, and you said, let's do it. So thank you very much. And of course, you have to introduce yourself, and then we'll take it from there then.
Okay, so my name is Gidey, and I am a young lawyer from Ethiopia. Currently, I work at a law firm known as the Law Office. But because this domestic law office works in partnership with a Washington-based law firm called ALG LLP, so technically speaking, I also work for that law firm. So legally speaking, I'm an associate at the law, but also I work for a Washington-based law firm. So that's what I can say. But before joining the law, actually, I was a lecturer. I served as a lecturer at a public university known as Aksum University. So I was teaching law courses. And after doing my master's in commercial law, I joined this law office. Yeah, that's what I can say in relation to my professional experience.
Okay, but a background I was giving you that time before we started the recording, that it all started with Migle being on that show In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind that I have. And she mentioned she's a fellow at the Weinstein JAMS fellow. So then I said, it was just something I'd heard there. I didn't even know. So then there was some post on LinkedIn which spoke about the applications coming in. So I said, and then I was looking at the list of people, and I realized there's so many people I know from there. So, and look, and let me tell you, all of them wonderful people. So I said, there is something there. Let's get their experiences out, because let's just talk to them. And of course, when I spoke to them, they said, damn good experience we had. So someone said, once in a lifetime kind of experience, and I made friends for life and all that. So let's just record this. And I started a new series because of that. I said, let's call it Mediator Experiences. This is okay. This is one part. Now I'm doing the JAMS fellows, but I'll take this forward with memorable experiences that they have. So I thought, I liked it. And the good part is, look, we're having a conversation with nice people, and that by itself is just nice.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when you asked me, I was thinking about that. So the title is Mediator's Experience, but in fact, I'm not a mediator.
But I'll clarify that. I'll clarify that. Mediator for me is a person with a mediator mindset. And you have that. I know you have that. So not a problem. You practice or you don't practice, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so in that case, actually, yeah, this is a great idea. Why I'm saying this is because in 2019, it was in 2019 that I applied to the Weinstein JAMS International Fellowship Program. So I decided to apply, but I had no resource. In the internet that can tell me how to apply. So I don't know a person. It was not because I was recommended that I applied to the Weinstein JAMS, but because I was interested in arbitration, and I was looking for programs that can help me to enhance my knowledge and skill in arbitration. So what I did by then was I tried to Google some arbitration fellowships, arbitration trainings, and arbitration master's programs. So at that time, I identified 4 institutions, like leading institutions. So you have the Weinstein JAMS International Fellowship. That was one from the fellowship aspect. And also I identified Africa Arbitration Academy. That is also another academy established in working in London with the purpose of helping young African arbitration practitioners to develop their skills in international arbitration. And from master's programs, I identified the MIDIS program, the Masters in International Dispute Settlement in Geneva, Switzerland, and the Pepperdine University in the United States of America. So since the Weinstein JAMS was one of the fellowships that I wanted to pursue, what I did by then was I tried to look for people like senior fellows, the name of the senior fellows, and I checked them on LinkedIn. I sent some requests to senior fellows. So let me tell you what happened then. So I because I didn't know how to apply, there is a form there in the website. So I downloaded that one, but there is a budget section. So I don't know how to fill that section. I have never been to the United States of America, and I don't know how much it will cost me to be there for like months, 2 or 3 months, up to 4 months. So I asked one of the senior fellows on LinkedIn, and she said, please do not ask such kind of questions. It is against your reputation. That's what she said, actually. So I had to fill it myself. So what I wanted to say is, this is a great resource. I mean, senior fellows talk about their experience and talk about how they applied to the Weinstein JAMS Fellowship and then how it impacted their life and their professional growth in mediation. So that would be a very good input for people who want to apply to the Weinstein JAMS. Yeah, so thank you so much for like bringing this idea into life.
Thank you. Look, it's always nice to be appreciated. So I will take that compliment. But what you were speaking about is also an important aspect of this series, because exactly what you said, that people don't know how to budget. They don't know because they haven't been there, how to do the cost, because you don't know. I mean, first of all, you have to look at the courses. I was talking to someone that the courses itself, what the fees is, getting to that was creating problems. So this is also an important part for prospective applicants, that just a little guidance as to how to go about that. Please give that also, because it's an important part. Because I'm just saying, look, it might be this year, it might be next year, but the fact is that people at least should have to look. Let me tell you another reason that this whole thing goes out. You'll have only a few fellows, but the people who are looking at doing things in mediation, their ideas become more concrete when you're putting it down on paper. And then they will look at other ways to maybe fund things or move forward. So it just starts a process. That's because I'm also based on what suddenly this whole thing discussion happened. So now I'm working on a way that all these people who are out there wanting to do good things, let's get people to fund them. Let's let them help them however they can. So now that project starts because of this. So this is like how it moves forward.
Yeah. So actually, in terms of budget, what is good about Weinstein JAMS Fellowship is, irrespective of what you propose, they have their own estimation. So I tried to Google some, like they have the list of the things that you may include in your budget section. For example, you have the travel cost, you have the insurance cost, you have the living expense cost, and so on. Maybe if you propose to take trainings, maybe you need to pay for taking that training fee, and again you need to include that fee as well. So I tried to first you need to identify. I mean, one need to identify where he's going to do his fellowship program. It is not only in San Francisco. You may be in Washington, D.C., you may be in Los Angeles, or in any other place in the United States of America. So first you need to know in which place you want to do your fellowship program. And then you can Google. I mean, that's what I did. I Googled the insurance fee, I Googled the living expense fee, the travel cost, and so on. And then once you did all these things, what is good about Weinstein JAMS Fellowship is they will look into your budget and then they will adjust by themselves. So I proposed, for example, 9,000 USD for 3 months, but they said that is not enough. So during the interview, they said, do you think this amount of money is enough? Or do you have any other person who can help you in who can support financially? And then I said, no. I filled the form by looking into by Googling, and then they decreased the period into 2 months. So I proposed 3 months and then changed it to 2 months. And I proposed 9,000 USD, and then they adjusted it to 15,000 USD. So whatever you propose, they know that whether it is enough or it is like more expensive, and then they will adjust it. So there is no problem with regard to the budget section. But before you apply, that is a headache. You may not know what to do with the budget section.
Exactly. But tell me something that if with your experience, but you people didn't, people didn't go, did you? You guys did not go then. It all happened online for you.
Yeah, so what happened is actually we were not able to attend. So we are fellows of 2020. So we were supposed to be in the United States of America in August or September. It depends on the proposal. So we were supposed to be there at least in September 2020. But we were not able to do that because of the pandemic. So it was deferred to 2021. So again, we had an opportunity to be there in 2021 September. Again, that was not possible because of the pandemic. So what happened is, so again, we have an opportunity. We will be in the United States of America in September 2022, unless
unless we have to stay positive. We have to stay positive.
Yeah, so that is one thing. But to as a bridge of the gap, what they did is they came up with virtual sections. So in 2021, we had so many virtual classes, like trainings and discussions with senior fellows as well. So we were able to have discussions with the senior fellows all around the world. And so we were able to have discussions with leading mediation expertise, leading arbitration expertise, people who shape the arbitration and mediation industry in the United States of America. So in 2020 as well as in 2021, again, it's happening now. We have at least once in a 2 week, we have virtual sessions. So that is a kind of training and a discussion. So sometimes it's a discussion about the Weinstein JAMS Fellowship and our projects, and sometimes it's kind of training. So people are invited from all around the world. Most of them are like senior fellows beginning from 2010 or 2011, like more than 10 years or 11 years. Yeah, so that's what we are doing right now. But now, hopefully we will be able to meet in person.
Yeah. No, hopefully. Let's just use only positive. I keep telling people wherever, whatever shows I do, otherwise meetings, everything. I said, just stay positive. Don't use any negative words on my show. What is the use? No, I also tell people that, look, I don't even watch the news. It's been maybe 1.5 years. I don't know what's happening. I live in my bubble. I make a nice bubble for myself. What is the problem? Why do I have to read some person writing some article somewhere? There's so many good things happening. In Ethiopia, there must be some good things happening. It's not that good things don't happen. But if you read you pick up your newspaper, you'll say, oh, only negative things happen in our country. What is happening here? You'll start becoming negative.
Exactly, yes, yeah.
So every point of time, we'll just stay positive. That's it. So otherwise, okay, this is, I think what you've said is exactly, but tell me something, if you want to today, after your research, say, what is the cost of living in the US for a person to calculate on a daily basis? Is there something that you were able to figure out?
Yeah, so it was a guess actually first. I say that 500 USD will be enough, like for living. And on that, I mean, you have to add the house rent expense, the travel expense within the country, and so on. But for living expense, I put 500 USD. So that was what I did. And then I have the call. I mean, how can I say this? So I know a person who lives in the United States of America in New York, and then I asked her if 500 USD is enough for me to sustain myself for like a month, and she said that I mean, it is enough. Yeah. So initially was 500 USD, but because the total amount of budget was increased to 15,000 USD, by chance, it means that I can spend more than that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's good. So now let's get into the experience part with what about your fellows, all your cohort people? You obviously interacted with all of them. So what were they like? What are they like? Migle, I know, is a very nice person. Of course, she's been on that show, so I know Migle.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I can say that I am the least experienced person from like the whole court, and maybe because I am selected because of the geographical representation. So they have that kind of thing. I mean, not because I am fit for the program, but because they don't have like people from Ethiopia. I know that they had one. It was in 2018 or 2010. I think he's a professor here in Ethiopia. So he was a fellow, but after that they don't have contact with him. I mean, of course, I know that he's doing like mediation and arbitration things, but he didn't keep in touch with them. So that could be the reason why I'm selected.
No. It was because because of you. In geographic representation, there could have been so many other countries, so many other people. It was because of you. And I mean, I'm telling you, when I'm talking to you, I realize why. Because I'm telling you, I think that there's something in their selection process. Nice, wonderful people come out of it. That's why I'm enjoying this whole series. So there is something to that. Don't even say that it was because of any other reason.
Yeah. So just to be kind. So most of them are senior mediators and arbitrators. So some of them are judges. Some of them are working in like high ranks in the Attorney General office. Some of them are advisors to the president of certain country, and the like. So some of them are PhD holders and so on. So I have been able to learn many things from them. I mean, and one of them, I think it is Lubomir. He works for the European Union. Like they have many projects there. They travel from different countries to different countries, and then they like create the legislative frameworks of different countries. They try to come up with new developments in international mediation and international arbitration as well. So that's what they do. From my perspective, as I said it before, my focus was in international arbitration. So I was exposed to international investment arbitration cases, and because there are very few law firms who practice arbitration, and as far as I know, it is only this law firm that handles international arbitration case in Ethiopia. So I was lucky enough to join this law firm and work in international arbitration cases. And so far, I think I have accumulated like some knowledge and skills in international arbitration. But from the mediation perspective, it was only after I was admitted to the fellowship program that I came to know how mediation works and what it is. I know, of course, mediation, as one of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, but I didn't know what it is and how it works. Even in undergraduate program, we didn't have a course focusing on mediation and arbitration. So we had an elective course called ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, but that was an elective course and I didn't take it. So every lawyer in Ethiopia thinks that whenever a dispute arises, he or she takes it to the court. So they do not want to think of other means of solving the dispute. And we don't have institutional frameworks which enable lawyers to solve their disputes amicably. And again, we didn't have legislative frameworks. I mean, we had some laws which were enacted in 1960s, which are outdated, and we didn't use them. So my focus was in international arbitration as well as domestic arbitration, but I came to know about mediation only after I joined. I mean, I was able to be admitted to the fellowship program. But after I was admitted to the fellowship program, I got this opportunity, the virtual sessions, and I was able to speak. I was able to listen to senior fellows and people who are working in mediation in different countries. So I came to think of the beauty of mediation. I mean, it's a very good thing. Arbitration is actually litigation, literally. I mean, it's litigation. Yeah, so mediation is amicable dispute settlement. It's a win-win solution. And I was thinking how to like bring it home, how to like utilize it in Ethiopia. So one thing I would like to mention is that we have now a law which is called Arbitration and Conciliation Proclamation. So that is conciliation, a little bit different from mediation, but I can say that it's almost the same thing. In fact, when you look into like the different laws that we have in Ethiopia, they try to describe conciliation and mediation with the same term in Amharic. So sometimes you may be confused whether conciliation and mediation are the same when you look into the Amharic version of the laws. Okay, so we have a law, and hopefully we will be able to like use them in the future.
But let me tell you, Gidey, that this is something, this confusion is something that people are creating. They're creating this in India also, because we have an act. We also have an act called Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Conciliation is one part of that act. Now, thing was, UNCITRAL, when we got the act in 1996, UNCITRAL model law was using the word conciliation. Today, in the new model law for mediation, they've clarified this, that we were using the word conciliation. Now the word mediation has become popular. So now we're using it. They're the same thing. And if you look at the Singapore Convention, it so nicely has defined mediation that all these things, both conciliation and mediation as we know it, everything fits into it. They've given such a broad definition that I don't know why people still attempt to confuse people. I don't know, is there a reason for they do it? I don't know. I really have to understand. But this is what the Singapore Convention says in terms of the definition of mediation. So as conciliation,
irrespective of the expression used or the basis upon which the process is carried out. Yes.
Basically, what you have to see at the end of the day is person lacking the authority to impose a solution. That's all you have to look at. Third person coming in. So this is the one is the confusion of the expression, mediation, conciliation, and everything. The other is the basis upon which the process is carried out. Facilitative, evaluative. Everyone goes into all that. Nothing required. It's so nicely put now that I think people have to stop even getting confused or confusing people. So
yeah, in fact, let me tell you what happened in Ethiopia. So in 2021, we have different tiers of the government, right? So we have the judiciary and the legislative, and then the executive organ. So the Arbitration and Conciliation Proclamation was initiated by the Attorney General Office. So this amicable dispute settlement is called conciliation according to that proclamation. But also we have a new proclamation initiated by the Federal Supreme Court. And then actually the name of that proclamation is Federal Court's Proclamation. Within that proclamation, you find, that proclamation allows the utilization of the court annexed mediation. So this proclamation talks about mediation, and that proclamation talks about conciliation. And practically speaking, it's almost the same, right? The only difference that may that between conciliation and mediation would be the role of the conciliator and or the role of the mediator. So both of them do not have the capacity to impose a decision or to pass a binding decision. What they do is they help the parties to settle their agreement. So the only difference is in conciliation, maybe the conciliator may be able to like suggest a solution, but in mediation, that may not be the case.
Does it say so? Does it say
theoretically speaking?
No. I'll tell you how I'm looking at it, because India has the same situation. Our civil procedure code has both the words used there. So again, everyone, what is the reason, this, that, and everything? The conciliation in that civil procedure code is the conciliation under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. So you go there, and in our act, that settlement agreement is as good as a consent award, which is as good as a court decree. So you go out of the court system and you go into the act, you get a court decree, go away. You don't have to come back to the court. Mediation was, why I keep telling the people that these two words are required. Mediation is that you still stay in the court process. You do that in the whatever court annex mediation center. That settlement agreement comes to the court and the court passes a decree. That's how simple it is. It's as simple as that. Same thing in that Arbitration and Conciliation Act, under the arbitration section, it says that the arbitrator should see if a settlement can be got into through, the parties can go through mediation, conciliation, or any other method. I keep explaining these two words are required there, because if they go for mediation, they stay in the arbitration. So they go for mediation, come back to the arbitrator passes a consent award. If they go for conciliation, they go out of the arbitration section into the conciliation section. They get that settlement agreement is as good as a consent award. They don't have to come back to the arbitrator. So this is why those two words are required. In general, also I say we need those two words, because conciliation under the conciliation section, that settlement agreement has to be written. Now mediations are going to happen otherwise, where verbal contracts will happen. Verbal contracts have sanctity in our law. Under our contract act, verbal agreement is also an agreement. So, but the only difference will be that will become a contract which is enforceable. Under the conciliation, it will be a court decree which is executable. It's as simple as that. People are just making it so complex for whatever reason. Look, I won't even get into reasons. Won't get into reasons because people have lots of reasons, but I won't get into that. I'm just saying they're confusing people all the time, and we have to get out of that. Today, we have a bill which is out in India, a draft mediation bill. The bill is not there. It's a draft mediation bill. So I organized a workshop on Wednesday on this. I'm doing another one on Saturday. On the Wednesday thing, I only spoke about the fact that we have the best law in the world. Just little tweaking is required, because Ethiopia is not a signatory to the Singapore Convention. We are a signatory to that. So to ratify that, this law has to come out. So while doing it for Singapore Convention, the domestic law is also be looked at, which is a good thing. Domestic law should also be looked at. But I'm saying that we already have everything in place. They're trying to get into a lot of other things. They get a mediation council of India and then regulate the institutions also. I mean, I'm just saying, why are you doing that? Parties are the best judge who they want as a mediator. Why are you doing all this? I mean, that's what I put out there. I did a 1.5 hour of ranting on that I did. So I just feel that in Ethiopia also, I don't think you should let people confuse people so much, because they'll move away from the process. They'll start thinking if some technical thing happens. I don't know whether you know, but I did a symposium in July and August. No, August and September. So the topic was mediation in our culture and traditions. The whole idea was that telling people that the process you know about, you're familiar with the process. You might not know the word. So to connect them to the process, we have to tell them it's all part of your life. It's been there for centuries and all those things. So finally, what happened was, it was supposed to be only in August. What I find out, such a good response, that there are now more than 90 speakers, or there were some 97 speakers from 40 plus countries, and everyone giving their side of it. All those sessions are there on the YouTube channel. That index is also there on my website, the mediatorvikram.com. There's an index there with just the social media profiles of the people and the link to the recording. But interesting sessions. So interesting things come out. So we have to connect people to that part, not to this very hyper technical thing that mediation is becoming, and discussions are happening on that. That's how I look at it. I mean, you can give me your suggestions also on this. How are you looking at it?
Yeah. So yes, as I said, the process is not new. So we have, for example, in Ethiopia, we have mediation-like dispute settlement mechanisms. They are like cultural, traditional mechanisms of dispute settlement. We don't call them mediation. Could be because we don't speak English. It could be because we have our own language, right? So we have, for instance, we have Shimgilana. So Shimgilana is like a mediation, but the only difference could be the settlement is made by elderly people, by respected people, not by like people who are trained in mediation. So we have, because we have different nationalities and peoples in Ethiopia, we have different kinds of dispute settlement mechanism, and they can be similar to what is called the mediation. So I think what we need to do is we need to like create awareness as to how they may utilize mediation, and we need to also tell them that they are similar with Shingilana and other mechanisms of dispute settlement, but what could be the benefit of having mediation is that once it is registered in the court or the document authentication in office, that will be taken as the court's decision. So that will be enforceable. It's not a mere agreement, and once you settle the dispute through a mediation agreement, right? So that's it. As I said, it's not a new process. It's not a new thing. But should have like it should be institutionalized and everybody should know about it and use it, and that is a win-win solution.
Interesting thing that you said about the settlement agreement being registered with the court and all. I'm saying that our law, the best thing is that if it's just the conciliator is saying that okay, this conciliation happened, that by itself becomes a court decree. So look, you have to look at it from the perspective of the size of our country. I mean, you have 60% of us are rural. So imagine in that situation, you don't have to go anywhere. You're sitting in your village in some corner of the country, and you've got a court decree in your hand. It doesn't get better than that. It might sound very nice registration, but think of that guy in the village. First of all, he'll be taken for a ride. Oh, registration, this has to happen, that has to happen. You have to give this, you have to give that. He'll be fleeced of money also. So this way, he's got a court decree in his hand. So that's one thing. But on the traditional aspect of it, some very interesting things came out from this symposium. There's one person in Kenya who's doing some very interesting work. So he's look in the traditional system, what came out was that, like you said, the elders would tell people what to do. So now when we say mediation, now does this person have an authority to impose a decision? Like in this definition, what came out. So that what really one thing that I looked at it was that, look, if an elder is saying something, there is always a choice these people have, but because they want to be part of a community, they want to stay in that community, so they accept it. They accept it, but it's not that they do have to accept it. In some cases, they might have to accept it also. In that case, it'll be a different situation. But if they have a choice, so is social pressure such a bad thing? You want to be part of a community or you don't want to be part of a community? So that part of it in urbanization, in any case, is changing. So all those issues that people are having because of that, I mean, so should we look at communities as things that people should be part of, and if they have to compromise for the community, why not? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. But his work is interesting. What he's doing is that all these traditional things that are happening, all the various parts of the country, he's trying to strengthen that, but also the negative aspect of it, trying to make it as mediation as we know it, trying to make it that sensitizing these elders and the chiefs and everything, that this is how it happens, that not imposing and everything. So interesting thing that happened there was that there was a murder which took place in a community there. So the community resolved it amongst themselves that the victim's family will get 15 camels. Finished. Done.
Yeah.
Obviously, the police is there. Police filed a case. The matter went to court. No one came there. No witnesses, no complainer, nothing. So the judge understood, sent the police back, find out what they've decided. They came back, 15 camels. He passed an order. Yes, it is settled at 15 camels. Major controversy. How can you do that? Judge said, look at the constitution. It protects this. So traditional methods are protected in countries and people don't know that. So finally, now today, at least they've got that sanctity of law saying that yes, the traditional method is something that you can use and it is a valid thing. So that's an interesting thing which is coming out from that. But of course, we've digressed, Gidey. We still have to go to your experience, your JAMS fellowship experience. More about that? Anything more about that experience of yours? As to, like you said, you met these people from all over the world, all people and senior people and everything. So what have you, from that larger vision that you have created, what is that vision that you've created from it for mediation?
Yeah, so so let me begin with my initial proposal when I applied to the Weinstein JAMS Fellowship Program. So the initial idea was to look into the legislative frameworks of different countries, the United States and the countries from where the other co-fellows come. So by looking into the legislative frameworks, I was hoping to be able to draft that kind of law in Ethiopia. That was one thing. And the second one, it was to be able to equip myself with the skills in arbitration and mediation. So I proposed that I will take trainings in arbitration and mediation in the United States of America. And also I was planning to stay in the JAMS. JAMS is actually Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Services. So they provide arbitration and mediation service. And they are, I think, the biggest mediation and arbitration service provider in the United States of America or in the world, I don't know. So by staying within the institution, I was planning to see how mediation and arbitration cases are administered. So that would give me a clue on how institutions handle or administer cases, be it mediation and arbitration. Also, I plan to stay in some law firms and see how advocates handle cases, how they draft memorandums, how they make oral arguments, and so on. So my plan was very broad. It was a very broad ambition, actually, to look from the advocate's perspective, the arbitrators and mediators' perspective, from the institution's perspective, and from the whole broad legislative framework perspective. So that was the whole idea. So for some of them, I wasn't able to have a look at them because we didn't go there. But the JAMS was also able to give us some clue on how mediation works, on how arbitration works, and the legislative frameworks all around the world and so on during the virtual sessions. So I was able to learn from my co-fellows. I was also able to learn from senior fellows. I was able to learn from mediators in JAMS and so on. So during the virtual session, I can say that I have learned a lot. And in fact, I have written an article. It is being reviewed. It's not published yet. So it was this exposure that enabled me to look into the new Ethiopian legislative framework. So by now, I don't have to draft anything because we have a new law. We have a new law in conciliation. We have a new law for arbitration as well. But what I was able to do after the virtual sessions was that I was able to look into every provision of the conciliation and the arbitration and comment on what it lacks and the good news about it. So now I have an article titled ADR in Ethiopia, the problems with the recent legislative reforms. So I have submitted it to a journal and it's being reviewed. And the plan is that I hope that it will be published in December. That's the plan. Yeah, so my experience during the fellowship, the virtual sessions of the fellowship helped me to understand what those forms of dispute settlements are. And yeah, that's what I think. And also, I was able to connect with different people. And now I know who to ask when I came up with question on mediation and arbitration. So the network that is created by the fellowship program is a good thing. I think it helps you to continuously educate yourself, or it helps you to like reach out some people who can help you understand what it is and who can share their perspective or their country's perspective. For instance, what happened like a few months ago is that I was planning to conduct a research on designing a dispute settlement system for my community. Why I was doing that is because maybe you are aware of the ongoing war in Ethiopia. So many dispute settlement institutions, especially the courts, are destroyed by like the militants. So the courts are destroyed, the buildings are named, and many judges and prosecutors are killed, like attorneys are killed, and so on. And before that, beginning from 2019, we have the COVID-19. So courts were not operating in the way they were operating before. So we have like backlogged cases, and we have also potential flood of cases. And in my view, it is not possible to administer and handle or solve this case through the courts. That is not possible. For one thing, the courts are like crippled because of the war. And even if they are able to operate like in their full capacity, that will not happen. I mean, they will not be able. They will not be able to handle all these cases, to solve all these cases. So what I was thinking is to design a dispute settlement system that can at least solve all this backlog cases quickly. But I don't have the exposure, and I don't know how to do that. So I know people from JAMS, and I know people like senior fellows who are connected to the JAMS. So I reached out people from Rwanda, and I mean, they had like similar cases like years ago, and they have now different programs like community-based dispute settlement programs. And I know that they are developing ADR policy and so on. So this JAMS helped me to reach out people who can help me in my projects. Yeah, so that is one of the things that I believe I obtained from the Weinstein JAMS Fellowship Program.
That's important because suddenly you're connected to people and you can get the best of what's happening around the world rather than reinventing the wheel. So I think that's a good thing. But one thing, let me get it. You walked into this fellowship as arbitrator Gidey. Have you walked out as mediator Gidey or not? Have you? How is it?
So yes, one thing I can say is that now I don't want to be only an arbitrator. I want to be a mediator. I want to solve my cases through mediation.
Yes.
Before that, as I said, I wasn't into mediation. And the reason is because I didn't know what mediation is. But after the fellowship program, many people like Jay, the people in JAMS were able to tell me how mediation works and how good it is. And I can see that. I mean, there are things that you can solve through litigation, through arbitration. You need to have other mechanisms of solving cases. For instance, as I said, in cases where like your court institutions are destroyed and then we don't have the files, you don't know who, I mean, for instance, you lent someone some money, but that the loan agreement was destroyed due to the war and you don't have anything to prove. So what do? What you can do is to sit with the person and then discuss about it, settle it amicably. That's the solution. So in many cases, you need to have dispute settlement mechanisms that can solve disputes amicably. You don't have to fight. You don't have to go to the court to settle the case. So after the fellowship program, actually, and still within the fellowship program, that after the virtual sessions, I was able to change my mind and see mediation as one form of, and probably the best form of, dispute settlement mechanism.
That's because the thing is arbitration, like in a country like India, because obviously people challenge the award in the courts. So it's, I mean, the kind of time that it's taking, it's not really benefiting people. I was talking about this matter which I mediated, which was for 14 years. It was going on for 14 years. It was an arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? What use is it then? So that, I don't know about Ethiopia, how long it takes, but in the whole idea was that this is like your private court. You'd get your order, you do the arbitral award, and that's it. You go on with life. But everything gets challenged. So
Mm-hmm.
then, so that's why I think that's why we also require mediation, because you need to see what the current situation in countries is, and if what is the use of that kind of a dispute resolution which happens in 20 years? What use is it? I mean, it doesn't help anyone. So I think, so that I think we need to obviously, I mean, I don't know how it's developing, because Ethiopia, I don't know how much it's, what do you think? Is there a culture of mediation as such? Because I keep talking about this culture of mediation. Are people collaborative in terms of the way they go about it, or very litigious like the US situation?
I think we are very litigious. I mean, I know this story. I don't know if it is real or not, but people keep talking about it. So there was one person, and he lent, I think, 50 Ethiopian birr. I don't know how, that is inconvertible to the United States. The USD, I mean, it's like insignificant amount of money, 50 Ethiopian birr. So he lent that amount of money, and then the borrower was not able to pay back. And then he sued him in court. And then the judge said, do we need to spend our time for 50 birr? No. So they collected 50 birr from the judges themselves, and then give it to the claimant, or to the plaintiff. And then guess what the plaintiff said? Well, I'll take this 50 birr that will help me to travel to the higher court, and then I have to appeal, you know. So he wants the mentality of winning the case.
Yeah.
So I can say that's litigious.
That really actually, which is the issue, that once you get stuck on that this is something I have to teach the person a lesson kind of thing. So obviously carries on. But the only thing what they don't realize is that, okay, you might want to teach the person lesson, but there are people around you who get affected by litigation. So it's part of, I mean, in families, people are going through litigation and how it affects them. So there is so much that have to be looked at. But otherwise, what is your take? Are you going to be developing mediation in Ethiopia? Have you made some plans on that?
Yes, I have a plan. I mean, initially when I write my proposal to the Weinstein JAMS fellowship, I was planning to, after the fellowship, I was planning to establish a mediation and arbitration dispute settlement center, not dispute settlement, training center.
Okay.
So that was a plan. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that now, because of many things, because of many personal things. But now I'm looking for like scholarships. I have applied to some scholarship, and I have received some offer from the UK. Maybe I will go there. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I want to develop mediation and arbitration in Ethiopia. I want to like see people practicing arbitration and mediation, and I will do what I can to help that happen. I have like a LinkedIn page called We Share Laws. I was the plan was to share the developments in arbitration and mediation from the Ethiopian perspective to lawyers who are interested in arbitration and mediation. But after that, once I feel like that I am capable of like giving training to people or like organizing training on arbitration and mediation, I mean, I hope I will like establish the center that I was planning to do. Yeah, and again, if I keep teaching law courses in universities, again, I will hopefully I will try to establish centers within the universities that can like promote mediation and arbitration.
And are we going to be able to reach the children? Are we going to promote mediation with the children?
That is not in my plan, but yeah.
Please make it a part of your plan. That's where we'll have to start. I keep saying that because look, one thing that I keep talking about is how colonization has affected dispute resolution, traditional dispute resolution systems, and the mindset, the adversarial mindset that the court system brought in. So we have to decolonize the minds. We have to decolonize the way dispute resolution systems are looked at. But courts are where dispute resolution has to happen. But the thing is that you hear this so much on my wherever I keep talking about this. I think one point of time I'll have to stop doing it because all the time here we're talking about your JAMS fellowship and I'm going into this area. I won't spoil this part. But this is what I keep. You'll hear me saying this a lot of time because this is what my focus is. That we have to decolonize minds because the way people have picked up from whatever it's conditioning of the mind over years. So we won't do that. But now, what about your experience at JAMS? I mean, did you shadow these neutrals there when you went there? Oh, I mean, in the sense from here, in the sense online, did you do
online? Yes. Yeah.
some
So yeah, we were able to meet some of them, and they have shared their experiences beginning from the time that mediation was not a preferred means of dispute settlement in the United States of America. So they are retired. Most of them are retired judges actually, and they are, to the extent I know, that they are the people who shaped the mediation industry in the United States of America.
Some names. You have to give some names at the same time.
Yeah. So we had a pleasure to meet them and to have their views. Yeah. So, but it's not enough. I mean, virtually, there are limitations.
But you have to tell me who all were there. Who are these people, and you have to tell us about those people also.
So maybe if you know, Judge Denny is actually the founder of the Weinstein Fellowship Program. So he was a judge before, and then after retirement, he joined the JAMS, and now he's a mediator. Of course, he also does, I mean, some arbitration cases. He handles arbitration cases, but his main focus is the mediation. Also, Jay is another person who is also known for mediation. He has many books, I think, in mediation.
What's his name?
Jay, J-A-Y.
Okay.
Yeah.
The full name?
So,
what is the full name?
Jay Folberg, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So he is also behind the JAMS. He has some position in the JAMS program, the fellowship program, as well as in the JAMS itself. So they have a foundation. They have the JAMS, the service provider, the mediation and arbitration service provider, and they have also the fellowship program as well. So those are the people who are behind that. And we have also Ellen. Ellen is the executive director, or I may not be right about the specific position of her, but she is like the caretaker of the fellowship program. So Ellen Bass and David are the two persons who are taking care of the Weinstein JAMS fellowship program.
So what was Judge Weinstein like? What kind of a person was he? What was the interaction with him?
I mean, he's like, he's an easygoing person. he loves talking about mediation, and he wants to help people who coming from different countries. He wants to know the developments in mediation throughout the globe. He's not a person who wants to talk more, but he wants to have like interactive sessions with us. And then we were able to meet him at least 3 times. Yeah, so all of them are good people, to be honest. I mean, they are committed, they devote their time to share their experiences, and they are also good listeners. Yeah, that's what I can say about all those people in JAMS.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, finally, you'll find out people who have the mediator mindset. They're all wonderful people, because that's the whole part of the mediator mindset. That's what it is all about, because otherwise, I mean, you need that aspect of it. So I think that's why it's a nice thing meeting them, and which is what I also enjoy, because I do these other shows also, that evolution of a mediator, and we had these senior mediators there. After some point of time, I'll have to ask Judge Weinstein, get connected with him and do that also, ask him to come on that show. But just see their story of life. It's so interesting, because I keep telling people that you don't make a mediator in a 40-hour training. Mediator, is there so much that happens in a person's life. At one point, maybe the person says, oh, I want to be a mediator. No, you're already a mediator. Now you've taken it up as a profession, maybe, but you still have it.
Yeah.
So
that's not something you can bring it through training. Of course, training is good. Yeah. But you need to be like good listener. You need to be a person who understands the personal things. I mean, in mediation, you don't only talk about the case, you also talk about the personal issues, right? So, yeah, it's not only through training that you can be a mediator. You need to be.
Look, I've been talking about that heart, the soul, and spirituality also play an important part in mediation. Can you train something on that? Can you put someone, you can't infuse that into people. It just is part of a person. So those are also important things which don't get, I mean, no one talks about it, because how do you gauge it? And how do you put it across to someone? So it has to come from within. So I'm saying people who have that within and everything, those are people who they need to bring out, which is what I'm trying to do. The people with that natural ability, who have that mediator mindset as part of themselves, and get them into the profession. It's going to be a slow process, because I keep saying, I look at the situation in the US also. It's not, if you dig deeper, there are issues there. It's not that the mediation is like that. It's happening on, I mean, it's in the concept of the court system. Through there, there is mediation happening. But I would want people to go directly to mediators as soon as they have issues. But the point is that the number of cases filed in the US is what, 100 million cases. I mean, it's 40, 45 years, it should have taken off. So I feel one of the reasons is that those people who have the natural ability, they should come into the profession. We have to get them in. And then the user experience will be so good that everyone will want to talk about it, use it. That's the way I'm looking at it. So Gidey, for all the applicants, anything else, prospective applicants, what are you going to tell them? They need your guidance.
I think the only thing I can say during application is they have to take time in like filling the application form. They shouldn't rush. I mean, most people, many applicants do, I think, is they just fill the application like a day before the deadline and then submit it. That's not a good idea. What they should do is like they can take like a month or 2 months to look into it again and again, edit it and again. That's what I did actually.
But Gidey, please remember, today is that last day. In the sense, tomorrow is the last day. Yeah. Tomorrow is the last day to submit. So now you're going to scare them.
Probably I'm talking to like future applicants.
Yes, exactly. We'll ask these people not to listen to it. Okay, future ones.
Or maybe if they are prepared till today, and then like they can submit it today because today is the deadline. Today or tomorrow is the deadline. Tomorrow. So so they have to take time to look into it again and again. So they can draft it first, and then they can look into it again and again and edit it. And then so I recommend that they give to a person who can like read it and review it for them. That's a good idea. Yeah, other than that, if they're passionate about
recommendations is an important part. I see a lot of people talking about recommendations because they're sitting in a part of the world where they're not really connected on the, of course they're not connected on the global level. So what do they do? What recommendations did you put in, and how did you get those?
So the recommendation, my bosses, so I have two bosses actually. One is a professor at Seattle University, and one is a doctor here. So I got recommendation from both of them. And it was a general recommendation, actually. It wasn't addressed to the Weinstein JAMS Fellowship, I think. It was like to whom it may concern. It was a general recommendation. General recommendations are not recommended at all, but I did that, and luckily enough, I was able to.
So maybe it was all about you as a person. I don't know why you went it was you as a person. That was the important part. The person that you are, the wonderful person that you are, that is what they were looking for. So don't discount that at all.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, what they look into is actually within the application form, you have like previous exposure to the mediation or arbitration industry, previous education and training, and the plan. And I think the plan is the most important thing. So you need to have a clear plan. You need to show through your proposal that you understand what that means and you understand how to implement it. Yeah, so the future plan is the most important thing. It's not only about your previous experience and your previous education and training. It's all about your future plan. So you may have a plan, but if you are not able to put it like in a clear manner, that's a problem. So you need to have like a clear proposal on how you do it. So what will you do when you go to the United States of America? What kind of trainings, what kind of exposures will you have? And then how are you going to implement that training in a fellowship program when you are back in your home? So you need to link all those things. The things that you need to link together is the thing you are going to do in the United States of America, the thing you are going to do in your home country, and how you are going to do that, right? So, for instance, you want to take a mediation training, but if you don't have a plan to come to home country and do mediation things, that's nonsense. So you need to show that when you take a training, that is for purpose. You need to show that you will use that training for good in your home country. So you need to have a clear proposal on how you will utilize the trainings you obtained in the fellowship program.
Yeah, so basically you say everything has to be connected, your plan and the US trip and what you're going to do in your country, that whole thing should flow from that. So perfectly, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be, because if you have, you have to have a certain vision and how practically you want to implement it and everything. So I think that makes sense. I think that's good. So any concluding remarks for in terms of your experience, everything, whatever you want to say, this is your word.
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Future applicants. I mean, when looking, if people who are passionate about mediation or arbitration, they need to have the exposure. I mean, reading and writing is not enough. It is a different thing actually from like practicing it. So they need to see how things are done, like not necessarily abroad, if they have like good practice in their home country. So they need to go into the institutions that administer mediation cases or arbitration cases. They need also to work with persons who handle cases, mediation and arbitration cases. And it is only after that they can like talk to people and ask for a job, right? if you do not know how mediation works, then it will be difficult for person to like ask for a job in a mediation service provider institution, right? So that's it. If you are passionate about mediation or arbitration, do not only read mediation and arbitration books, but also try to go into the service provider institutions and see how it is done, and then talk to people, and then yeah, that's what I can say.
Perfect. No, I think that's really good. I think they need that. But at the end of the day, we have to see that Gidey has to be a mediator only. We have to see in his LinkedIn profile, Gidey mediator. But one thing that I have to do before I finish is because all the events that I do in the month, people don't read about it because LinkedIn and Facebook only shows to certain people posts and all, which has its algorithm. So what I've started doing earlier, didn't do this, but now what I do is either before the shows, in the beginning or at the end, I just show what is happening in the month. So please, just bear with me on this one. It's important that people should see this. So because there's so much I keep doing. This was the poster that someone from Mexico had designed. This was, he called it the Woodstock of mediation. And I loved this. So now everything starts from here. It says 80 plus speakers, then 90 plus speakers. So this was what it was. It was a wonderful experience. Then Adi did his mediator experiences. Adi's from Romania. He's from Romania. Then Tatlim is in Singapore.
I met this guy actually. He's a senior fellow.
Yeah, very nice.
From Bulgaria, or yeah.
Who? Adi or
Tatlim?
No, Tatlim is from Singapore.
Singapore, yeah, he's from Singapore.
No, a wonderful person. He's been on my show, Evolution of a Mediator. Also, obviously, he was part of the symposium. Now I've started a new lecture series. He's given his first lecture, the next one in January. So wonderful person. I mean, I really like being with him. Then Judge Shimax is also, he's from Croatia. He's a judge in Croatia. So he's recorded. These are all recorded. They're lying on the. I don't know whether you saw. These are all.
Yeah, I've seen. I've seen some of them.
Yeah, Migle is also lying there. So Katarzyna also there. These are all recorded ones. This one's also done.
I also met Ivana. Yeah.
Yep. And of course, this is yours. I hope I've got the flag right.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect. And this is coming up. This one also has to happen.
I've also made this one from India.
Okay. So on the draft,
she has a new book, right, in mediation policy and laws or practice.
I don't read books, so I don't know. I keep saying that. I'll come to that. I'll come to that a little later. So this was the draft bill that's come out now. I had a little discussion on that with Chitra and Jawad. Then I did this workshop I told you about. And this is the lecture series. This is what the inspiration behind the lecture series was, because a lot of people are not exposed to any kind of lecture on mediation, but Ken Cloak, obviously being the global figure he says this is how it started for him. Although I kept telling, because I had this on the evolution of a mediator, he took us through his life. So I said all that was something which was accumulated. It just came out there at that lecture, but it was all part of it. So let's try and inspire more people to come into the profession, or at least understand that yes, this is something that they want to do as a formal thing. So Michael Lang's lecture, this has happened again. Wonderful person, and I mean he's also come on that evolution of a mediator. And then this is another show that I don't know whether you saw this show, In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind, is people with a mediator mindset. So just conversations with them. This is like just a conversation. I mean, it's not directed anywhere. She's spoken about her plans. She's also applying this year for the thing. So she's talking about what she wants to do in terms of changing things within her country and her city that she lives in. So she's spoken about that. Mr. Katarzyna, senior mediator in Nigeria. So all this, I mean, all this has happened. He's also very senior mediator. Interesting story. The thing was, first episode, we are still talking about his grandparents, his parents. We haven't even come to him. He hasn't been born yet. He was really surprised. He said, this is the first time in my life I've spoken about all this. So that was nice to get that out. She's from Malaysia. Another wonderful person. This is also there on the thing. This is happening on Saturday. So he's into reflective practice. So they discuss their mediation experiences and try to learn from each other. So this session, he has these reflective practice groups in various parts of the world. So he's calling those people there, and they'll take us through what they do at their meetings. So you must come for that. I'll send you the Zoom link. So come into
Okay.
that. No, all the shows are anyway, they're all live on YouTube. But this one, should be nice. Just drop in and see what this is all about. I'll send you the Zoom link. This is, of course, okay. Why the talking books? Okay, because I don't, you see the title, because some of us don't read them. So that's how it is. So the idea was with the author, we talk about the book and everything. So from that talking, it went to this stage when all this that he's doing, I mean, it was interesting that this will come out. So I said, please give a discount to people. So this is a discount that he organized. Then again, a very nice person doing interesting things. In the symposium, she's spoken about art and mediation. So you can have a look at that symposium session also. She's in Canada. Raphael is the one who designed that poster. So, and he calls himself, of course, you were you're young you were not about Woodstock, but there was Carlos Santana in Woodstock. So he's now been designated the Carlos Santana, because Carlos Santana is from Mexico. So he's the Carlos Santana of Woodstock. So this is what now I refer to him. He refers to himself as that also. Only today he sent a WhatsApp message saying Carlos Santana in his name. So Andrea's, of course, she's also part of that reflective practice groups also. She's been part of what I keep doing. She comes to meetings and everything. Again, very nice person. And then on the last day of the month, I do this. Birthdays of mediators in that month, celebrate that on the last day. Okay. So I think now you have to go. I think I can see that someone's calling you. This is
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks a lot, Gidey. It's really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to send you that Zoom link for Saturday. Please drop in, and be wonderful to have you there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you.
See you soon.
Bye.